Can you hear it loud and clear? Oh no.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to GM32, the hockey podcast. I'm Vito Scaringi.
And I'm Carson Johnstone. We're excited tonight. We had Wes Wolfe on.
Oh, what a guest.
Yeah, awesome
What a
guy.
guest.
Recent change in his career, direction. Headed to Cobourg. We'll talk about that. Leave the details for the episode, but bit of an announcement, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna drop down to once a week, weekly episodes. So we'll give you guys a little more time to kind of get through the content, get through the episodes.
Yeah, and really enjoy it because we feel that there's just quite frankly not enough time for all our listeners to hear it all and hear all the episodes, and there's a lot to offer from our guests, so we want to make sure everybody hears that.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to thank you guys for the feedback. We've been amazing feedback, and you guys have been great so far. I think we're almost at 1,000 downloads, Cars, eh?
Real close. I think it was like 960 something.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
We're getting there. We're going to get some swag coming out too, GM32 swag, and we're going to get going. But ladies and gentlemen, hope you enjoy the episode with Wes Wolfe. Congrats to the guy, and we'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome back to GM32, the hockey podcast. I'm Vito Scaringi.
I'm Carson Johnstone. We're here tonight with our buddy Wes Wolfe. Coached with my dad years ago. I've known Wes for a little bit. But yeah, awesome local hockey guy. Coached in the OHL for close to 5 years, or was going to be 5 years. So, we're excited to have you, Wes.
Yeah. Welcome, Wes.
Thanks for having me, boys. Been listening all along, and I'm just happy to join. You guys are doing a great job, so thanks for having me on.
No, thanks for being
Thank
on
you.
it. Let's kind of, you know what, Carson, kind of shoot right to it. Hey, fresh head coach and assistant GM for the Cobourg Cougars, Wes. How's it feel, brother? Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a pretty crazy 72 hours since the paperwork was kind of done. They made the official announcement on Friday. Came together pretty quickly in about a 2-week span, but definitely really excited to get going.
That's amazing, dude. Awesome. Congratulations again,
When do you guys get going, like hitting the ice and all that?
Threw me right into the fire. The announcement was made on Friday. I accepted the job Thursday morning, and we skated last night with some of the returning guys and a couple of younger prospects. So it was kind of jump right into things.
That's great, though, eh? Just to get a taste right away, feel for the guys, too, and they must have been excited.
I think so. I mean, we did a Zoom the night before just to give myself a brief introduction to the group. And I had reached out individually to every single player via text. And my plan is to follow up with phone calls over the next 7 to 10 days. But it was good, put a face to the name and get to see everybody in person and just start to build a relationship. I think that was, that was important to me. And so I'm glad that we kind of got that out of the way right off the bat.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's good, man. So obviously, great opportunity, head coach, assistant GM, but leaving the OHL couldn't have been an easy choice, right? I mean, like that had to be something where, went back and forth on, or I guess I won't speak for you, but maybe you could fill us in on just how that process went.
Yeah, it was obviously a very tough choice. I mean, I have nothing but great things to say about the Erie Otters organization. And I mean, I had no reason to leave. I had a 2-year contract still with the team, first class all the way from ownership down to management and everybody involved. We get every resource we could ever possibly ask for as coaches. It's a great community who really supports the team. Mm-hmm. And, there's a lot to appreciate there. And I think probably more than anything else is just, they value you as a human being first. And doesn't matter if you're, one of the coaches, one of the players, equipment staff on the business side of things, it's one family over there. And I really, really, really appreciated and felt grateful for my time in Erie. But, that being said, the Cobourg guys had kind of reached out to me. They have a new senior management team that's taken over there. They reached out about 2 weeks ago. and wanted to know if I was interested in hearing what they had to say, and interviewing for the head coaching position. So I went up last week. I had prepared some things for them, and they had their own process that they went through. And I had a pretty good idea that it went really well. So it was less than 24 hours later. They made a formal offer, and I did my due diligence. I made some phone calls to a few different people around, the OHL and within my inner circle, a couple of people who are mentors to me, and tried to come to the best decision that I could. And, at the end of the day, the opportunity to become a head coach with such a strong organization in Cobourg with great history, tons of infrastructure, set up for success long term, I think was best for me, and really aligned with my own individual career goals. So really, really looking forward to that opportunity.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So I guess now that's where you're at in your career, right? Moving forward, and that's awesome. We're excited for you. But we always like to talk to guys about where they come from, where it started. You specifically now coaching, right? That's obviously the biggest part of your life. So if you want to talk about even that, getting into coaching or growing up playing in the area, just kind of what piqued your interest and made you really want to become that hockey coach, that is Wes Wolfe now.
Yeah, obviously, just like everybody else, played up in the Niagara Falls minor hockey system, years in single A and then triple A. And, I come from a relatively big family, 2 older sisters and a younger brother. And my dad was always really involved coaching both
Really
girls
involved, yeah.
hockey. And so my younger brother, he was a house league player, and I used to always go out to his practices, even when I was 12, 13. He's 4 years younger than I am, so I'd be the guy out demonstrating drills and, joking around with the younger kids. And it was just something that I really enjoyed, right off the bat, and got into coaching basically right around that time, helping my dad coach his team. I think I was 16 when I got my first coaching certification, and coached the Pee Wee House League team as the head coach, and did that sort of congruently with playing. I played 5 years with the Chippawa Riverhawks junior C team.
Yeah,
Shout out to
yeah, you did. Is your jersey retired yet?
What's that?
Is your number retired yet?
I don't know, but 91 certainly belongs up in the rafters.
Absolutely.
If for no other reason than time spent there, I think. Yeah,
That's dynamite.
A lot of good memories at the Air Chippewa Center for sure.
Yeah.
But so I mean, really, I coached, everything: house league, select, single A, couple years as an assistant while I was still playing, and then, when my playing career was done, I took a AAA team, the 2001 birth. They were minor Adam. And, I did that for 2 years, minor Adam, major Adam, and then minor midget, major midget with the 97 age group, straight into junior B. And then I was hired by the Otters, and that's kind of where I've been since 2016. So it's pretty linear path in terms of, the trajectory, not much different than one, I guess, of a player. But I've been at it now over 15 years coaching, which is kind of hard to believe.
That's insane.
That's wild, man. So when you were coaching those minor midgets, obviously that's their draft year, right? So did that kind of, I guess, start the process or the connections, to the OHL or piquing some interest there? Obviously, you want to get as high as you can, but having some guys, that close to being drafted or whatever, that could be something. I'm just curious if, you had any guys get drafted or how that went.
Yeah, it's an exciting year for everybody, players and coaches. I mean, you have extra eyes on you all the time. Scouts are obviously coming up, trying to talk to coaches and get a better sense of what's going on with players. And, you go to the Marlies tournament Christmas time, all the teams are there. You see the team jackets and the GMs from around the OHL. It's really no different for a coach. Obviously, it's a great opportunity to network and meet people. We did have a player drafted that year. His name was Johnny Kovacevic. He was actually a player who was cut by the Niagara North team. We still had AAA in Niagara Falls. And I think he was pretty close, to be honest, to giving it up. But he came out for a skate with us. And the first time he set foot on the ice, I remember saying to one of our assistant coaches that, and I can't believe that Niagara North would have let this guy go, and we got to sign him right away. He's our best player. And from that point forward, in his trajectory was insane to watch. He was drafted in the 12th round by the Niagara Ice Dogs. Didn't go there. He ended up choosing to go more the school route. Went to the Hill Academy, and then played in the CCHL. Ended up going to Merrimack Division One, and actually was drafted by the Winnipeg Jets in the 3rd round. So he's playing in the American League now with the Manitoba Moose. But
That's a cool
but
story.
yeah, I mean, I guess as far as connections go, I mean, it's certainly not what led me down to Erie. You know, eventually, I'm sure that you know, I got some people, and I guess the way that I look at it is your repetitions create your reputation. So I'd like to think that at that point, you know, starting to just build my own personal brand and what I represented, and you know, there's always eyes on you. So I think for me, it was just kind of practice. For when it was going to become a real thing. But it's definitely a time, I would say, that I realized coaching was something I wanted to do seriously as a career. That was probably around the time I decided I was going to take a run at it.
That's awesome.
That's unreal. Okay, so Wes, so you finished doing that. How'd you make that jump from I guess going from minor hockey to the junior level? Like we always talk about
The differences.
the difference between with players wise. Now, how was it coaching wise? How was that making that jump for you mentally wise?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I mean, I'm obviously someone who likes to get involved with as many things as they can. I think it's really important, you know, for professional development, but also to build networks. And, you know, I just think it's really important to get out and do as much as you can. So, you know, when I was coaching at the AAA level, I would always go out and volunteer at the tryouts with, you know, like the Junior B Canucks and the Riverhawks. I was back helping out with here and there. But the year that I had the major midget team, we had a number of players who were affiliated with different teams in the Golden Horseshoe. And at the end of that season, the head coach in Port Colborne, we had 2 players that were AP'd there. He actually got a concussion in practice, and I think a puck hit him in the head. He was concussed, and so they actually didn't have anybody to run their bench or practices for the last week or 2 of the season. And they obviously had been in contact with me because we had players that were AP'd.
Yeah.
So they asked if I wanted to come up and on the bench for a few games at the end of the year. And that was sort of my foot in the door with them. They were really reeling at the time. I think they'd lost about 20 in a row to end that year. Things were going really, really poorly. And, you know, they must have liked what we did. I remember, I think we ended up taking a game to overtime in the 1 or 2 games that I was there. And the players seemed to respond really well. And that was sort of my foot in the door to junior. And I guess as far as the transition goes, I never found it overly difficult. I think just because, you know, the game is built around relationships. And at the end of the day, you know, we're all people. It's a relationship first. And then everything else kind of comes second. So I think, you know, the transition was never one that was that big of a deal to me, dealing with, you know, whether it was 16, 17-year-olds at major midget or 16, 20-year-olds junior, you know, everyone's just people.
Yep.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So how did Erie end up coming knocking at your door, Wes? How did that conversation pop up to you?
Yeah, so the 2 years I was in the Golden Horseshoe coaching, the first obviously was with the Port Colborne Pelham organization. That didn't go very well for a number of different reasons.
Is that when you had Kyle DeJulie as your
I mean, like we could do a whole podcast. That was like everything that could go wrong went wrong type deal. Yeah, Kyle DeJulie was
shout out Kyle DeJulie, love him.
Yeah, he was our stat guy / video guy who came out of retirement from having not played competitive hockey for 2 years to be on a third line. But it was, you know, it didn't go well, but I was very fortunate. I had some good relationships in that league. So the day that, you know, Pelham and I parted ways mutually, I actually, you know, was able to jump on the bench with the St. Catharines Falcons.
Yeah, I remember that.
Who you went from basically last place in the league to first place in the league in 1 day, which was kind of nice. I jumped on as an assistant, did that for the last half of that year. And then the following season, you know, Frank Gurney was the GM head coach of the Falcons at the time. his son Christian was actually signed by the Otters, and he turned over the reins of the Falcons to me because he wanted a chance to go watch his son play in the league. And that's when we brought on Carson's dad. Shout out to Scoot.
Scoot.
He was a great mentor for me, and we worked together that year. Basically, he was the assistant coach, but the reality is we were co-coaches of that team, and I learned a lot from him. And so at the end of that season, I had every intention of coming back to St. Catharines. We did our rookie camp in the spring, summer. And then, one night I got a call from Frank saying that, the Otters were looking for an assistant coach, that the general manager, Dave Brown, had contacted Frank, asking if he knew anybody who fit the particular profile of what he was looking for. He thought that I sounded like I might be a good fit. So Frank said, send in your resume. And I think it was like a Sunday night. The next day I got a call from Chris Knobloch, the head coach of the team, and said, I'm coming through Niagara on my way to Toronto for something. If you have time to meet this afternoon for coffee, let's sit down. And we had an interview that went about 3 hours, conversation at the Starbucks on Thorold Stone Montrose.
Yeah, shout out.
And, basically a week and a half after that, I was offered the job.
That's awesome, man.
Right on. Now, Wes, I got a question for you. It just kind of popped into my head as we were sitting here talking. Now, you're going to Cobourg now, which deals a lot with, like Division I commits, those kind of guys, different guys, right? Where the OHL is more like a fast-track professional kind of thing. So the difference is there. What do you find for guys that might be, on the bubble in the OHL? Like, is there a suggestion for a path you would say, or is it more, I guess just trying to understand your opinion or your take on it, if there's a better way, or if it's just kind of assessing, your options at the time?
I think unquestionably the answer to that is there is no right answer. I think it's individual specific, everyone's path is different. Obviously, the Tier 2 Junior A League has a lot of players who are more focused on going the NCAA path. And, but that being said, we also have an affiliation in Cobourg with the Kingston Frontenacs. And so,
nice.
We plan on working closely with them, with some of the players they have signed in their system. That's great. At the end of the day, I think for any player that, the answer is, where can you have the best opportunity to develop into, the best version of yourself? And so there's a lot of things to take into consideration, but I guess what you're looking for is the right fit at the right time for the right player. And, the athlete development comes in all kinds of different shapes and sizes. So I don't think that you can say, one or the other. It's not a binary choice. I think it's something that, you take what's best for you at that time. And then you take ownership of your own development.
Of course. Now, would you say, some of that has to do with like playing styles? Because I know growing up too, when some of my buddies were going through it, making that decision, some guys had offers, at UNH, even Harvard actually, and a couple guys chose the OHL route. But just playing style, I remember them talking about like, what do you like to play tough, rough it up? Like, are you a skill guy kind of thing? So you think that's important to kind of take a look at as well?
Yes and no. I mean, like, I think, like I said, it's one of those things that if you're committed and you're good enough at what you do and you have a growth mindset, I think you can make the most of any situation. So, I mean, obviously there's some style differences from NCAA hockey to major junior hockey. There's some difference in scheduling. There's, there are differences there. But, even within those leagues, there's differences. And so, of course, style of play is a consideration. But I don't think that would be, for me,
deal breaker.
A major, player and making a decision. There's so many other things that you have to consider. What type of relationship are you going to have with the coach? And, what are the facilities like? What's their development plan? Like I said, there are a lot of different factors, I think, that go into that.
Yeah, a little bit kind of assessing every factor and just seeing what's best for you. Right on. Well, thanks, Wes.
Yeah. Hey, so Wes, I asked you yesterday, and it's kind of I'm gonna ask you again. How's it? What's your preparation like going into Cobourg right now? How do you feel?
Well, in terms of preparation, after a formal offer was made on Saturday last week, like I said, I wanted to do as much due diligence as I could be afforded. I knew that there was a timeline on these things, and truth be told, I pride myself on my values and my integrity. So there was some transparency to both Cobourg and Erie what the situation was, and that I was going to be, trying to collect information and come to the best decision I could and do it quickly, so that everybody could move on accordingly. So that involved obviously contacting some people in my network and out of my direct network who had either chosen to go this pathway themselves or had made similar decisions or had approached similar crossroads in their career. And so I guess no different than what we were just talking about as a player. You try and collect as much information as you can to come to the best educated decision, and that's what I was doing. But while that was going on, I'm a firm believer that you need to prepare yourself for multiple endings, and I knew that there was a good chance that I could turn the job offer down, and I was still doing and still am completing work in terms of development planning and things of that nature for Erie, wrapping up those loose ends. So I was still busy at work with that stuff all week, but also preparing for a transition phase with Cobourg. And there's a lot of process there. For me, it starts with relationship building with every single player and every single member of the staff. That's returning coaches, senior management, equipment manager, trainer, strength and conditioning, ownership. So it's been a lot of one-on-one conversations. Like I said, collecting information, talking about strengths and weaknesses, why they're involved in the game, learning a little bit more about them. Have they won in the past? When's their birthday? Just like I said, all of those things that go into building a relationship. So I think that's the first steps. And then we have the advantage that, we have our eyes more on a start for the 21-22 season. So there's lots of time to come up with a season plan and tech packs and things of that nature. For now, it's just setting the foundation for what our culture is going to be and building relationships with everybody.
Perfect.
So we went through all this Cobourg stuff, went through your coach and stuff. On the show, we kind of like we like getting into detail with the viewers about mentality and development and whatnot. But we also like going on the lighter side. You know what I mean? And I know you definitely got a few good stories from back in your Chippawa Riverhawk days. So what do you think you can share a couple with us or what? Any good war stories? What do you got? You got a scrap story for us?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I have a funny story that's probably more recent than anything else.
Okay.
But, that's a long time ago, so I don't know if I can remember too many things. But there was, I was not a very chippy player. You guys know me. I'm a gentleman, but I played that way too. So
yeah, you did.
I think the highest penalty total that I had in any season was like 13 minutes. Over 5 seasons, that was the highest one I accumulated. But I did have a couple of good fights over that span. So it seemed like any time that I got a penalty, it was going to be for something major. And we were in the playoffs against the Grimsby Peach Kings. They knocked us out, I think, all but 1 year that I was there, and they swept us every single time we played. But at the end of game 3 in a series, they had this guy I don't even really remember what happened, but I knew that I wanted to fight him in game 4 no matter what. And we were getting absolutely waxed, and the series was done. And, as these things tend to go, especially, at the level like junior C, things can get out of hand pretty quickly. So I get out there, I finally have a shift against this guy, and he was a pretty big dude. But I knew I wanted to go. It was just like one of those things. If we're going down, I'm going down swinging type.
I love it.
And it ended up being a really good fight. I held my own, but lo and behold, the next day, there's a full color picture on the front page of the newspaper of me and this guy going toe to toe. And it looks like he's about to cock me, right? I mean, it's a good one. We're both squared up. I've got a hold of his jersey. He's got a hold of mine, but he's got a menacing look on his face. And I look like I'm probably. But every single year, the memory comes up on my phone of this fight. And I had sent it. I'm in a group chat with a few other coaches. The memory came up, and I forget why I sent it to them, but it was just kind of get a laugh. So the one guy, the next day, he's like, hey, go to your Elite Prospects page. And I go on it, and it's the picture of me fighting.
Come on.
This guy's he's got a connection with one of the guys who runs Elite Prospects, and he sent it to him to update my page. So if you search my name and go on Elite Prospects, it's a full color picture of me.
I'm literally doing it right now.
For the Chippawa Riverhawks.
Yeah, we got it.
It is absolutely legendary. There's probably no other person on picture like that as their picture.
Hey,
you know what the best part is?
We're gonna upload that for the listeners.
The best part of this picture is that you're like this with your arm cocked back, and there's a hammer on your left shoulder.
Dude, you got that arm cocked back like 3 postal codes.
So it's great because I've got the long blonde hair for playoffs.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, after I got hired by Cobourg, this group text, the guy goes, you know what? I just realized there are probably thousands of people who went to your page today and got to see that picture. And I'm like,
that's true.
Absolutely.
The picture lives on. I think it was from 2007, so that was 14 years ago that picture is there, but it's
that's awesome.
It's one that followed me for a long time now.
No doubt, man.
That's a prime picture though.
That's great. Now Wolfie, I gotta ask you, just because I witnessed a lot of them, but I wasn't there when you were coach with my dad in St. Catharines, but there's got to be some stuff that happened or something that sticks out to you that you remember or anything, because the guy, something always happens when he's coaching or whatever, and it sticks out.
You get good stories.
He's a very passionate guy, as we all know. Yeah. And, I think, honestly, one of the things that I really appreciated working with your dad was that I think we learned from each other because our styles, while you might think they might contrast in some ways, they actually really complemented each other. And I think he helped me in some ways become more assertive and find my voice. And I think I'd like to think that I also helped him in terms of,
understanding guys
needs of a modern athlete are today and how to coach communication.
He said that to me. He did, Wes, when coaching with you. He said he learned a lot even from you.
Yeah, and I think, I'm grateful that we had that opportunity to work together. As far as anything that stands out, there are 2 things. One is he's very much the type of person that when he chooses to speak, everybody listens. There's a presence about him that, he's able to captivate the entire room. And there were a couple of occasions where, most of the time, me being the head coach, I would be the one who had the floor. But, there were a couple times where, he gave me the tap on the way in and said, hey, I got this one. And it was very effective. And I think, I guess as far as anything funny goes, there was one night that things got a little out of hand in Fort Erie. The officiating seems to be especially not on our side. And, I'm typically not one to let those things bother me. It's at the end of the day, you can't control it. But your dad was very passionate that that we were getting jobbed, and he teed off on the referee. And honestly, it was probably pretty deserved. He ended up getting the heave home.
Oh yeah.
Had an early night, but that was the only time that the wheels got a little rickety.
Oh yeah, I've seen him leaning over those boards quite a few times. But honestly, though, I will say this: my dad's not a psycho. He doesn't lose his mind when it's unwarranted. There's times when he chooses to go nutty and rangy and show his guys I'm caring about you. It's a different thing. It's not like he goes nuts just to go nuts. So, like you said, right? It's effective when he does those things and guys pay attention. So, that's funny. That's a great story, though. Awesome.
That's fucking. I love Scoot.
Oh
You?
yeah, how do you not?
Oh,
All right, Wes. So now moving on here. Let's talk about just how you've been staying busy and some of the stuff you've been doing over the pandemic. I know you got a lot going on, but maybe just to inform some of the listeners about all that stuff and all the work you've been doing.
Yeah, obviously, when things kind of came to a pause a year ago, we're actually almost a year to the date. I don't think anyone really knew what we were getting into in Erie, and we sent our players home. We were supposed to go on the road for a 3-3 road trip to Michigan, and we got the call from the league saying go home. So basically the guys took their hockey bags and the duffel bag that they had to go on the road and went straight home to Canada. And I was pretty much the same. I packed, 2 duffel bags. I went to my apartment, grabbed a couple books, my laptop, and I took off, thinking that I was going to be back in 2 weeks because that's what they told us. So I guess, sidebar to this is that I've been in Canada this whole time paying rent for an apartment in Erie, which I haven't gone back to. All my furniture, all my books, all my suits, all my clothes, everything is there.
all your hats.
Yeah, pretty much there. But yeah, I mean, once it became pretty apparent after those 2 weeks that, we weren't going to be going back anytime soon, I think, we had to figure out what we were going to do to modify and adapt. So, on a personal level, I was able to stay really busy. I every year run a coaches seminar in the Niagara region for grassroots level coaches. We get, some of the local higher level coaches, from the NHL or AHL, OHL to come back and do presentations. We obviously weren't able to do that in person. So I, took it to the webinar format. It was really successful. We had over 1,000 attendees from 17 different countries. And I think there were 9 webinars over the month of April and May. And, the response to that was terrific. And I think that kind of sparked for me, some things that we could do with the Otters to keep the players engaged. Because like I said, it was clear we weren't going back anytime soon. So our players, undertook a 16-week character development class that was set up on Google Classroom. We would meet every Monday night on Zoom and have an alumni from the Otters organization speak to the team about whatever area of character that we were talking about. So there were some really cool ones. NHL alumni, like Carlo Koliakovo came on.
Nice.
But we also tried to get, some alumni from different walks of life, like Colin Pepperall, good local Niagara guy.
He's coaching my
Hometown
uncle.
guy.
He was one of the first captains, I think the first captain of the Erie Otters, and Peps came on and talked about decision-making, and his experience in law enforcement. And, we had Spencer Abraham, who came on, who just finished law school at Queen's University.
Nice.
Brad Boyes came on and talked, and, we covered all kinds of things like, personal accountability or sleep, rest, and recovery, decision-making, just basically all these different areas of emotional intelligence and character that sometimes
better people
in programming. So that was really cool. Very, very impactful. And then, when that was done, there was a lot going on in the world that brought some serious issues to the forefront and specifically in hockey culture. And, you guys have talked about that on some previous podcasts about mental health, but also, about making it a more inclusive space. And, that's something that I'm very passionate about. And we created some programming called Shift Makers with the Otters. And again, it was a Google Classroom format, but we tried to cover some of those things that are more systemic in nature, that are part of the problem in hockey culture. So things like homophobia, abuse, racism, mental health, sexism, and tried to get some paid programming in place from field experts and people from around, the hockey world to address the group. So we had some really great guest speakers. Jordan Nolan, St. Catharines guy, came on, a former Otter, and he talked about his experiences in hockey as an Indigenous man, Trevor Daly, again, he spoke about racism, and
That's great. I work with his cousin right now.
yeah, Theo Fleury did a talk about
no way.
abuse, and like I said, it was really, really impactful. And I think, at the end of the day, all of us as people in hockey, we have collective responsibility of improving this space because, I think we get this misconception that hockey culture is under attack when people start to question some of the things that are wrong with it. And it's okay to say that, like there's a lot of great things about hockey culture. We come together in the face of adversity and in tragedy. And, obviously organizations are always so involved in the community. I don't think anyone can ever deny those things or take them away. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's also okay to say that there are some, toxic things that poison the well, so to speak, that, need to be corrected, whether it is rookie culture or it is some of those microaggressions that happen in the locker room, in regard to homophobia or racism. And so, we really, in Erie focused on holistic development on people and players, on and off the ice. And that's something, as I transition into Cobourg, that I very much intend on taking with me, that we want to focus on people first and the culture first and build out from there, because I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done. But my experience has been that the players are more welcoming now than ever before to
Agreed.
Doing their part and using their platform to do some good. And so, like I said, that's sort of some things that we focused on throughout the pandemic, and I'm really proud of the work that was done. And I think you're really seeing the hockey world starting to make that shift.
Of course. And you know what, Wes? It starts with the top down, right? Like we've talked about it, you said on this podcast, about making things more inclusive or, bringing other things to light in hockey. And I think it was important too, like how you said, a lot of people feel attacked. Don't feel attacked. These are truths. These are things that happen. No one wants to bring these things up or bring them to light. It's just realities of some of the things that happen in-house, right? Like, but anyways, I'm glad you kind of surrounded that, but just kind of while we're on the culture talk, Vito, if you want to go.
Yeah, we talked about this earlier. Wes, me and Carson having a little talk. Carson went on live on Pursuit. Kind of gave a little talk about it. I want to get your intake. You're no better guy to ask than you. You got a great sense of style. You love wearing your suits. You love wearing your hats. It's dynamite out there. You're looking dynamite, very professional. What is your take on players? Wearing suits in the NHL and in junior hockey and minor hockey. What's your take on that?
Well, I think first and foremost, we do need to acknowledge that I am definitely the best dressed coach that I know of.
110%.
I'm calling for you.
Shots.
Look, the truth is, I believe that there's a lot of merit to to having dress code. I just think it brings a degree of professionalism. I always felt like when I was putting my suit on that it was, part of the preparation. It was like you're shifting your mindset from being wherever you are to starting to visualize being at the arena. And I think if for no other reason than starting to develop routine, I think it's something that's a really good habit. But also, Cars did a really good job of covering, some of those things. So me personally, I believe in the dress code. I think it's classy. I think it's professional. I think it is a good representation of what I want my teams to be. When we go into a restaurant, that I want the, other patrons to look and say, wow, that, that's a really professional, classy group of people. Mm-hmm. And, that being said, I also understand that, as a coach, you have to decide which hills you're willing to die on. And I think, this generation of athlete certainly proven that individuality is something that is important to them. I think that you can find individuality, within a dress code. Certainly I've had no problems doing that.
Absolutely.
You know,
example.
but again, like if it's something that you're going to make a priority, then you need to have a reason for it. And it's no different than deciding, you know, do you want cell phones in the locker room or not? You know, are you going to ban a certain style of music in the locker room, or you know, like there are hills that you need to decide. Do they matter to me, or does it simply serve as a distraction? And if dress code is something that's going to be a major source of friction for whatever reason, then maybe it's time to revisit the conversation. Me personally, I don't think it is, but you know, there might be ways to make it fun where, you know, you hire a photographer for your team and you do those, you know, fun, candid style photographs as the players are coming into the arena, and you use it on social media as a way to showcase their individual brand. I mean, there's a lot to be said, like I said, for, you know, this generation. Individuality is really important. You see it with, you know, custom skates now with graphics on them, and you know, there are a lot of things that simply weren't on our radar, you know, 20 years ago, and it's going to continue to evolve. So, I mean, like I said, I personally, I'm a dress code guy. I think it's a good reflection of the organization, good representation of who we want to be. But, you know, I also understand the other side of it, and I'd be willing to listen.
Yeah. Fair enough. I mean, I think you got to be willing to listen to anything in this day and age, right? Like, I mean, whenever there's a issue proposed, I mean, it's got to be taken seriously, whatever it is, you know, even if it's a dress code, which to some of us, you know, less important. But like you said, I like, that's a good analogy. I've never really heard. Choose which hills you're willing to die on, you know, and that's pretty. That's a good lesson for a lot of, you know, coaches out there and guys looking to develop young guys and young athletes. Like Wes is saying here, you know, a lot of individuality now. Even I see it, right, coaching younger kids too. It's just trying to learn to deal with each kid and where they come from, each walk of life, right? Because, you know, to some kids, dress code could be important. To others, it's the last thing on their mind. So, anyways, great insight. Appreciate that, Wes, a lot. We're kind of winding into the end here. We're gonna start shortening up our episodes a touch, but you know, we wanted to just say thanks for coming on, Vito. I don't know if you have much else. But,
yeah, I do. Yeah, Wes. You know, it took me a couple of weeks to get you on here, but I know, man. I really appreciate everything you've been doing so far and what you've provided towards Niagara Falls minor hockey to start, and now just the hockey world in general. You're a great hockey mind and a great local guy. We all love you, man. And thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah, to pump your tires even a little more. Just you kind of embody like what this local podcast is about. You know, like you've worked so hard. You come from, you know, background where minor hockey around here, coaching minor hockey, worked your way up. It's really it's awesome to see, and you work so hard at it, man. You study everything, and it really is great. It's awesome to see your success, and so happy for you, man, moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations on Cobourg too, brother.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate you guys having me on, and you're doing a great thing. I think it's an important vessel to tell people's stories and celebrate, you know, some of the successes of our region, something to be proud of. And
100%.
I know it took me a couple weeks to commit to coming on, but I wanted to take the wait and see approach. And
yeah,
absolutely.
You guys are doing a great job, but I'm very proud to you know, to represent, you know, Niagara Falls, the Niagara region, wherever I go. It's, like I said, it's important to me to be a good ambassador for that, and then to contribute back to the community in that space. And I think that's what you guys are doing by doing this. So
certainly trying to, yeah.
Great work, and thanks for having me on and allowing me to share some of my story.
Thanks a lot, Wes.
Awesome, man. Thanks a lot, Wes. Have a great night, dude.
Yeah, you too.
Awesome.
Right,
Thanks, brother. Ciao.
See ya. All right. Oh.
Wow, you're butting right in on me now, huh?
I'm butting in.
I'm just kidding. Wow, that's episode 11 for us right there, right?
It's episode 11. Yeah, like we said, close to 1,000 downloads. So we appreciate that. And that's just on Buzzsprout. So I believe that's just through Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Yep. We still got our YouTube ones.
Yeah,
too,
we
right?
got the YouTube downloads or views, I guess. Viewers.
Yeah, our viewers.
Get the viewers going.
You know what, Cars, man? I just want to reach out here. Thanks a lot again, Wes. You know, what a stellar guy. Just a class act all around. Great hometown fella. And the boys at GM32 want to wish you congratulations on your new job and wish you the best of luck, man. Thanks for coming on. What a guest, Cars.
Yeah, honestly, like you said, we were waiting a couple weeks. We were yanking his chain a little bit to get him on, but Wes, awesome guy. Like we said, we pumped his tires enough. That's okay. But yeah, Wes, thanks for coming on and sharing that insight with us. Good luck in Cobourg, and those kids are lucky to have you.
Absolutely. We just want to thank you guys again for listening. Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube. Y'all have a good night. And Carson, you got something to say to these guys?
No, not me, but I think Frankie P and the boys from Hearts and Sounds do.
Can you feel it now? Would you take